And what's something people don't know about Arthur Pierce? His suits were tailored Italian silk, his watch a gold Rolex. The year was 1978, and Arthur was the epitome of Wall Street success. He had a beautiful wife, Eleanor, and two bright children tucked away in their Connecticut mansion. Life was a whirlwind of business dinners and exotic vacations. Arthur thrived on it. He was a shark, swimming through the world of finance, always hungry for more. But beneath Arthur's polished exterior lurked a secret. Years ago, he had dipped his toes into the murky waters of embezzlement. A risky gamble, a hefty sum siphoned off to an offshore account. He told himself it was a one-time thing, a means to an end. Yet the thrill of it, the ease with which he'd manipulated the system, left an indelible mark. Arthur's latest business trip was to Lima, Peru. A new venture, ripe with potential. He'd kissed Eleanor goodbye, the scent of her French perfume lingering in the air long after his car had pulled away. Lima shimmered below, a city of contrasts, buzzing with life and mystery. He was stepping into uncharted territory, both professionally and, he would soon realize, supernaturally. Lima was a sensory overload, the air thick with the scent of spices and exhaust fumes, the streets a chaotic ballet of honking cars and bustling vendors. Arthur, however, found solace in the familiar luxury of his hotel. The Grand Hotel Bolivar, a relic of the city's colonial past, exuded an old-world charm. He settled into his suite, a haven of high ceilings and antique furniture. But even here, a sense of unease followed him. His business dealings went smoothly, the Peruvian businessman eager to court the American investor. Yet in the evenings, Arthur found himself drawn to the older parts of the city. He wandered through the cobblestone streets of Barranco, its colonial mansions whispering tales of a bygone era. One evening, while exploring a dimly lit antique shop, Arthur's gaze fell upon a peculiar artifact. It was a small, intricately carved obsidian mirror, its surface as black as night. Despite a gnawing sense of foreboding, Arthur purchased the mirror. He was drawn to its darkness, its promise of hidden truths. Back in his hotel room, he found himself inexplicably compelled to perform a ritual the shopkeeper had described, a ritual meant to reveal one's deepest fears, one's darkest deeds. At the stroke of midnight, he dimmed the lights, bathing the room in an eerie glow. He lit a black candle and placed the obsidian mirror before him as he stared into its depths, chanting the words the shopkeeper had taught him. A cold dread gripped his heart. The air grew thick and heavy, and the reflection in the mirror began to shimmer. His own face, usually so composed, contorted in fear, mirroring a terror he felt deep within his soul. Suddenly the mirror went dark. A blood-curdling scream pierced the silence, followed by the sound of shattering glass. When his eyes adjusted to the darkness, he saw the mirror lying shattered on the floor. The following days were a blur. Arthur tried to shake off the events of that night, attributing them to stress and the unfamiliar surroundings. But the terror lingered, seeping into his waking hours like a poison. Sleep offered no escape, his dreams haunted by shadowy figures and accusing whispers. During a business meeting, as he was finalizing a deal, he imagined seeing the faces of the men around him morph, their features twisting into grotesque mockeries of their former selves. He fled the meeting, his heart pounding in his chest, leaving his bewildered business partners staring after him. Back at the hotel, he tried to call Eleanor, craving the comfort of her voice, the normalcy of his life back home. But the phone lines crackled with static, her voice a distant, garbled whisper. He was alone, utterly alone, in a foreign land, haunted by something he couldn't understand, something he couldn't escape. One night, Arthur awoke to a chilling realization. He wasn't just being haunted by his past sins, he was being punished for them. The embezzlement, which he had long convinced himself was a victimless crime, was now coming back to haunt him. The faces he saw in his nightmares, the whispers he heard in the wind, they were the faces and voices of those he had wronged. Panic turned into desperation. He had to make amends, to somehow atone for his past. He withdrew all the money he had embezzled years ago and more, donating it anonymously to a Peruvian charity that aided the very people he had wronged. He wrote a letter of confession, pouring out his guilt and remorse, hoping that somehow it would reach the people whose lives he had damaged. He stood on the balcony of his hotel room, the city lights twinkling beneath him. He had done what he could, tried to right his wrongs.